Hello, and welcome to this month's Coffee Talk with Nico. I'm here to share with you the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I'm hoping to move your perspective a bit. When I read this book, it moved mine. So I want to share it with you, give you kind of an overview of what this is and how you might restructure some of the stuff that you're doing in your business. So let's go ahead and move on to the next. I am Nico Fisher. Who am I? I'm Nico Fisher. I own a company called Skywriting by Nico, and I'm a marketing project manager. I love my job because I get to help people move from point A to point B. I am a social media specialist, and I do a lot of in-house training as of late. I'm a co-organizer for Maui Business Brainstormers. I am a score mentor for the Hawaii chapter. I'm a co-founder of Maui Social Media School, and I'm a Maui Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce board member. And I'm really excited that you're here with me today, and we can talk over a new perspective on business. I'm not selling the book. I have no ties to this book. These coffee talks are for basically talking about one platform for a half an hour. And so I built this coffee talk based on this book, and I haven't done a book yet, so it's interesting that I'm doing that, but it moved me, so I want to help you. The goal for this coffee talk is to take a look at the overall framework of what storytelling is. The key to the story brand framework is that it helps you be clear on what your message is. If your message is muddy, people aren't going to get what you're trying to sell. People are drawn to clarity and away from confusion. So if your marketing messages are confusing, you're likely losing customers. So before we get into this framework, I want to give you a perspective on the hierarchy of wants and needs. For most of our customers, they usually want a particular product or service because of its financial resources, or it helps them conserve time, or it helps them build a network, or it helps them gain status, or it helps them have a meaning for what it is they're about. So where these come from is Maslow, Abraham Maslow. He wrote in a paper in 1943, the hierarchy of needs is used to study how humans intrinsically partake in behavioral motivation. Maslow used the terms psychological safety, belonging and love, social needs, or self-esteem. So there are a lot of reasons why people want or need a product, and what we need to do is frame it in that. So this hierarchy of needs is just something that I threw in because usually when people want your product or service, it's because they have a need or a want. And so if you can tie that into any one of these, that'd be helpful for you. So for me, conserving time. People want to use my products or services because they don't have time to do things on their own. So that's their reason of coming to me. Or they might want help building a network, or they might need to show a different side of them. So maybe I can help them create a better meaning for who they are. So there are a lot of reasons why people do what they do, but these are the 5 things that most people want your product or service to help them get. So why this book? So this book changed my perspective of my role. I am a secondary character in most people's lives. I am not the hero. I understood that I am a conduit to most people getting what they want or what they need. It's never about me unless I am the customer. And the bottom line is giving the best customer service. So this book means a lot to me because it changed my perspective on my business. It gave me the new perspective that I am not the hero. I am just a secondary character trying to get people to where they need to be. It's never about me unless I am a customer. And I'm here to solve problems and try to figure out what can we do to help this person get from where they are right now to where they want to be. That's most of us, really. We're problem solvers. That's what we do. And being of service is what we do for our community. So this book allowed me to take myself out of the picture and look at it from a different perspective. And I'm hoping it does that for you too. I hope so. So here are the elements of a story. So this is pretty basic. This is for any movie that you see, any story that you hear, any commercial that's happening. This is actually how the storyline is written. So the key to a story brand framework is that it's clarity. So people are drawn to being clear. If your message is muddy, they're not going to understand it. I also have a link at the bottom of the screen here. And this is an actual PDF describing a lot of what I'm talking about. It goes into much greater detail. So if you have an interest in getting into that, go ahead and click on that link when you get these slides, if you want these slides, and you'll be able to read much more about it. So let's go on to, let me talk about the 7 elements of the story. So every story has a character, or it's called a hero, and they usually have a problem. And that problem is they need it to be solved. So what happens next? They need a guide. Guide is usually me. I'm the guide to help them with a plan. The guide gives them a plan and then calls them to action saying, do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? So you call to action in a lot of different ways, and I'll go into that a little bit. And then they get their results. Either it was a success, yay, or it was a failure. I don't like the failure word because timing is everything. And when we talk about failure, it just sounds so dark. Just because somebody didn't buy from us didn't mean it was a fail. It means that it's not the right time. So what we need to do is figure out how to get them from square A to square B. If we didn't get them at this time around, we'll catch them in a little bit. So it's never really a failure. It just didn't actually happen. So a character or a hero of the story. At the beginning of the story, we're introduced to the character that wants something. Because we know the character wants something, maybe it's whether to disarm a bomb or get the girl. If you think about storylines, the question is asked about the audience, and the audience is curious about that answer. Is he going to disarm that bomb? Or is he going to get the girl? That's what keeps us interested, right? So with that, the character has a problem, and something has to stand between the hero and what he or she wants, or we have no story. So usually the story has 3 layers. No story works unless the character encounters a problem. Something has to stand between the hero and of what she wants or needs. And so these are the types of problems that come into play. The external problem is that the bomb needs to be disarmed. The internal problem is, does he know how to disarm the bomb? Is he feeling insecure? Can he pull it off? And then the philosophical problem could be something like good versus evil. And this happens in most stories for sure. So the problem is very simple in terms of needs of products or services, but in needs of storytelling, you have to think about the whole storyline because that's how we get hooked. So in stories, characters usually don't solve their problem. They have somebody who does. We call this character the guide. The guide helps the character win the day by giving them a plan. So this is where my business totally changed for me. I became your marketing guide. And that's because people come to me with different types of situations. Sometimes they don't even know why they come to me, but they know that they need some help getting on the right track. So this book helped me figure out who I was and how I related to people. So most guides have empathy for the characters, insecurity, and fears. So we understand why, and I do with social media, especially some of my older clients, is they have a fear that they're not going to do it right, or they're insecure about their ability to be online. So I have to understand where they are so that I can help them get to the next step. You also have to have authority and experience to help people with these problems. So, most of us are experts, I'm going to say experts, in what we do, wherever we are in our program. So I've been in business since 2008. And so I'm a little further along. I've established myself. I understand how to get clients and how to help them and what I can do for them. If you're new at this, you might think, do I have authority or do I have experience? Well, the training that you went through to get to where you need to be gives you authority and experience. So no matter where you are in the picture, you oftentimes know more than the people that are experiencing the problems. So I want to say expert, but we're always growing and learning. So as long as we have understand their fears and insecurities and we have authority, we're going to be a better shot for them than they are for themselves. So the next one is we give them a plan. So when a hero meets the guide, usually they're confused about something. The job of the guide then is to break through the hero's confusion and give them confidence, so their life can be better, right? We're giving them something that's going to ease whatever issue they're having. So you do this by giving them a plan. First plan is you have two choices. You could think this way, but maybe you want to look at it another way. So you give them a choice of A or B. So they can stay where they are, or they can think about something in a different way. And then the other way is the multi-level strategy, which helps the hero win a complicated battle. So I like to look at this like when I was in real estate. I had a certain way that I did all of my business. The first thing, if I met a customer and they need to get their financials in order before they start looking for a house. If they start looking for a house and not know what they can buy, how much they can buy for, it's a pipe dream. So in this way, the multi-level step was I meet the customer, I get them help with getting financed, they get their approvals, we go start looking for a home, and then we buy a home. So it is a multi-level strategy that you have to go through. So depending on what your product or service is, you might have to think about it that way. So it's either A or B, or follow these 3 or 4 steps and you're going to be just fine. And then you have to call them to action. Now, this is a big piece that we don't, sometimes we don't ask. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned in growing in a business is you have to ask. If you don't ask, you're not going to get. And so instead of thinking, oh, I need this sale because I have to, I can't pay my rent, that's not a good way to run a business. What you want to think about is helping the client get to where they need to be. So you ask them, so where are you in this decision, right? Do you want to stay where you are in your comfort zone? Or do you want to think about going on a new path? Whatever the crisis is, it's just a point of asking them to move from that square. So this is really important and you have to be able to do this. But when you pull yourself out of it, like thinking about that rent check and think about how it's going to help someone, life is so much easier. And now you're not asking to get, you're asking to give. So it's a huge difference in business. So that's something that you really need to think about. And if you can wrap your arms around calling them to action, that'd be amazing. So calling them to action is either going to reach success or failure. Again, that failure word I don't like, but I have to keep it in here because that's storytelling. A story is given drama only when there's something at stake. Will the bomb get disarmed? Will people suffer? Will the guy get the girl or will he lose his love? When what's at stake is made clear, we're much more engaged to the story. And then this failure part here, good screenwriters and novelists help us imagine the dire consequences in order to build suspense. So in a sense, they're saying like, have you seen those commercials as seen on TV? And they always have the guy who, he's trying to use a hose and he's hosing things down and there's a kink in the hose and you see his facial features that are just, he's very frustrated. Or there's a lady who's trying to, coil up the hose and it's big and bulky and she's having a hard time. And then they show you the easy thing where this hose never gets a kink in it. It's always straight. You never have to worry about those problems. And this is their problem, right? Or the lady coiling up the hose, This one does it for you. So you don't even have to coil it up. So that's kind of like in the, you don't have to go to those dramatic lengths, but in essence, that's what this is. They're telling a story. And if you can relate to that story, that is how we get into doing sales, really, is we're telling them that if you have these problems, buy this and you'll never have that problem again. So it's kind of basic. So let me do the 7 elements of the Star Wars story. So this puts it into perspective completely. So the Star Wars character is Luke. He has a problem, which is the evil empire. His guides are Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they give him a plan. That's trust the Force. The plan is trust the Force. Calls them into action, right? So you have to fight, and then you either succeed by destroying the Death Star, or you fail, and the rebellion is crushed. So this is really oh my gosh. So character, problem, guide, plan, calls them to action. You got to fight, and either you success or fail. So this is drama, right? This is how this works. That's really important. So just for the whole idea of what we're trying to get to, your brand or you're not the hero of the story. The customer is. So you need to put them in that light. And if you can use this perspective, it's going to help you out a lot with your next customer and the next customer, because it's all about them, right? It's not about you. So take yourself out of it and put your customer in that light. So I want to show you now how Allstate does it. So this is a great example, and you've seen these commercials before. So Allstate, who is the character? It's some winsome, fun, successful person. The heroes of their story usually are, they show them as a happy driver. A character is, sometimes you can acknowledge something like this without words. So just a happy photo of a happy, smiling person on your website says a lot, or in your commercial, or in your ad, whatever it is. So the character is a happy client, but it has a problem. And that problem is mayhem, or the internal chaos is the customer feels this when something goes wrong, like when the tree falls on the car, or when you get a flat tire because you ran over a nail, or you get distracted and you have an accident, or storms cause damage. I mean, you've seen all these commercials, right? So this is what the problem is. These are things that can happen. And if you don't buy insurance, you're going to be in big trouble. So they introduce you to the guide, who's a pitch man, right? He's always a nice guy on the side, someone who represents the brand. He's actually good at it. He's not only establishes confidence and calmness, but he shows authority when coming to dealing with mayhem. Remember, empathy and authority are the two keys here. So he is calm, and he has authority, and he understands what the problem is. So he gives them a plan. Allstate's plan is a value plan. Gives the customer a plan that breaks through their confusion. If you just buy this plan, you're going to be fine. Now, buying insurance and protecting themselves from mayhem seems easy. The name of the plan also insinuates that it's not expensive, but it's worth the price. So they do a few things in here, but they give you a plan. And so the next thing they do is call you to action. And the critical part here is, if you don't call your customer to act, they won't. They'll think about it. And so this is a very important part of your storytelling when you're selling a product or a service. So Allstate has one simple thing on their website. It's easy to find button that says get a quote. So that's what calls them to action. Get to their website, get a quote. That's it. Call, get a quote. So most companies have calls to action that are not clear, but theirs is crystal clear. So what does that result in? Success. Allstate customers shows its customers how good life can be when you're not worried. So it's peace of mind that they're selling. It's a beautifully shot commercial about people enjoying their life. This is the successful ending where customers experience if they buy Allstate insurance. Basically, that's it. Or If you don't buy Allstate insurance, mayhem comes in. So the character serves as both the problem and the failure. They cover the tragic ending aspect of a campaign by showing their customers what can happen if they don't have insurance. The element of their campaign is also fun, and it doesn't come off that it is fear-mongering, because that could be a problem too. A tactic like that could backfire on a brand. So if you don't buy from me, you'll die, or something like that. That's no good. But mayhem is something that you can imagine could happen, and that's, pretty important. So you need to put yourself in that frame of light. So how do you write a story brand, and how do you turn that into selling a product or a service? So think about what you can turn into a story. Is there something that you've observed your customers doing? Is there something they told you about using your product or services? If you're not sure, a survey could help. So you can find out think about a client who came to you and said, I'll give you one example. For me, I do not have time to do my posting every month. I need help. So my story would be the customer is whatever, I'll just say an attorney who has a problem. They don't have enough time to do what they need to do to get visibility online. So they come to me, the guide. So as you see, the story can go like this. So think about the customers that you've had and the problems they've had. And that's the start of your story, as you figure out who the customer is and what the problem is. And if you can do those two things, the rest can come into play. A good story brand, finding a hero is your customer. Giving your customer a goal or desire. A good brand story talks about a want or a need for your client. So they come to you because they have a want or a need for something. So figure that out. And then adding a source of conflict is an interesting part of it also. It keeps your hero from getting what they want. They must overcome a goal that they're trying to get to. So if you can think about that goal, then the storyline comes a lot easier. So let me get one more screen here. So another part is making it entertaining. How will your hero achieve his or her goal in an interesting way? Even if it is, think about the products that you see on commercials. I love commercials on TV. They're troublesome sometimes when I'm watching a movie or something. But if I'm just watching a show, I look at a commercial. It's always curious to see how they're framing everything. If you could make it entertaining, is just great, and it helps out a lot. Letting your hero change, letting them become the hero. Think about your main character or supporting characters and develop them in a story. It's essential to making. It's essential part of making your story compelling to your audience, because your audience wants to feel what they're feeling, right? You want them to relate to you. Keeping it simple, people can only remember 3 pieces of information at a time. So if you pack too much in there, they're not going to remember. They might remember the commercial, but they might not remember the product. And that happens to me a lot when I watch commercials. And then continue to innovate and refine it over and over again, so you can use that problem or think about another problem. So whatever your ad, whatever your storyline, whatever you're trying to deal with, you want, writing on a website, you want to make sure that your clients know that you understand where they are and that you can help them. So that's basically it for me today, you guys. I think I went through quite a bit. And I'm actually pretty excited that I've been able to put this together, just because this storyline, any storyline that you have, is for a product or a service, and it is relatable, and we do understand a lot. So I hope this was helpful for you. This book, if you need that link, grab that link. If you want the slides, just give me a shout out. Nico at skywritingbynico.com, and I'll send these slides to you so you can get those links. But this is really important, and storytelling is what makes us relate. And if this really did help me and my business, and I'm hoping it helps you. And again, I'm not selling the book or getting anything for it. But when I find something that is really helpful for me, I like to share that. And so basically that's what I did today. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to our next time. I think next time we are doing highlights for Instagram. So we're going to show you how to create highlights and then add the different posts to highlights in your the story. The highlights go right underneath your bio on Instagram. So we're going to show you how to do that. So looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you for being with me today. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll get on to bigger and better things next time. You take care.